Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon on a very sunny and kind of warm and humid day, which is very much, I think, welcomed by many of us. My name is Natalie Bomstead, and I want to thank you all for joining us today for another one of our series, Connecting for Wellbeing with Wello, where we talk about all things community, connection, and well-being. So we know that social connection is an important part of well-being. It improves our physical health, our mental health, and increases our longevity. And social connection is really what drives the YMCA's mission forward. But really, what is that going to look like in a post-pandemic world? Today, we will be exploring that question with our partner, Shawn Elliott, the CEO of the Greater Green Bay YMCA. So without further ado, I want to welcome Shawn today. Say thank you for being with us.
Thanks, Natalie. Good afternoon, everyone.
So one of the first things that we like to start off with is, part of well-being is asking people, how are you doing? So Shawn, how are you doing today?
I think I'm doing pretty well. So beautiful day. It's very busy in the Elliott house with 4 kids under the age of 15 and 2 cats, 2 dogs. So never a dull moment. I was in the Y this morning at 6 a.m. for our opening at our West Side branch. We opened 3 facilities. I came back home for this webinar, and I'll be heading back out to other branches this afternoon, but pretty good to answer your question.
Good, very good. So to start off, can you share with us a little bit of some of kind of what the past several weeks have looked like from a YMCA perspective?
Sure. Like all of you on the call, I'm sure both exciting and exhausting. We've been working very hard to kind of reinvent not only the facilities that we have here in Green Bay, but also the programming and pretty much everything in between. So we've relaid out all of our fitness equipment at 3 of the locations that we opened, East Side, West Side, and Broadview. We've had to ramp back up from a staffing standpoint, at least on a small scale of where we left off when we unfortunately had to shut the doors on March 15th. New policies, new procedures, the new world that we're living in, with temperature checks for folks on the way in, and all the staff wearing masks, at least in our phase 1 delivery, which again we started today. But really, it's been exciting. It's been very exhausting because we had to go from about 1,000 employees down to 19. So doing a lot with a little, like everybody I'm sure on this call, is becoming the new norm, at least for the short term. But that's pretty much where we're at. So
you did say that today marks kind of the reopening of the YMCA. You mentioned a couple of those things that are kind of changing, that are different. For those folks who are members of the Y, what can they expect when they come to the Y?
Well, it's going to look different. When you first walk in, again, you'll be greeted with someone who's first of all going to thank you for coming back to our facility after, I guess, 10 weeks of not being open. We're going to be temperature checking all of our members and all of our staff in phase 1 with touchless thermometers. Again, we were very fortunate during this pandemic to maintain about 80% of our membership base. So again, just can't thank the members or the community enough for that. So that's going to be the first thing you're greeted with. And then when you walk past the greeter station, you're going to see a fitness center that's pretty spread out. We moved all of our fitness equipment, so your treadmills, your bikes, your strength equipment, free weight equipment, everything is 8 feet apart. Again, we wanted to go a little bit above and beyond CDC recommendations at 6 feet, so we moved everything 8 feet apart. So there's fitness equipment in places there wasn't fitness equipment before, in gymnasiums, which again, we're taking advantage of our footprint because we can't have contact sports and things like that, obviously, at least not for the short term. Staff again will have masks on. We have masks for members, but they're completely optional. But if a member, just doesn't feel comfortable not having a mask on, we have them available. And then a heck of a lot of new signage, not just directional signage, but posting our new procedures on how we're disinfecting things by the hour, sometimes by the minute, and even shutting our pools down for about an hour and a half in the middle of the day just to do a deep clean every day, along with all the cleaning procedures, which we've amped up on nights and during the week. So a lot more cleaning procedures, again, to address the pandemic, a different staffing structure, and, quite frankly, a little bit of a different business model for us.
Mm-hmm. So have the hours changed at all, Shawn, in terms of, when you're open?
Yeah, we opened 3 facilities. Again, we have not opened our downtown facility yet. We're going to be monitoring data to make that decision moving forward. And the biggest piece of data we're looking at is some of those downtown businesses. What's their plan as they start coming back to work? Are they looking at 25% or 50%? But to answer your question, we've opened our Ys at 6 as opposed to 5. I can tell you the early returns for, 6 hours of being open are that we need to open at 5. So I could see us opening back up at 5 real soon based on some of the member feedback we've gotten. And then we're keeping our branches open till 8 p.m. At least right now, that's the plan, as opposed to traditionally 9 or 10 o'clock in some cases. So a little bit of a difference, but I could anticipate us probably by the end of this week, if not early next, going back to our normal 5 a.m. opening time across the board.
Absolutely. So in terms of service offerings at the Y right now, I know that things are going to look a little bit differently. Are all things open right now? You mentioned that contact sports are not. Are there other things that are not currently in this phase of being open and accessible?
Yeah, we have limited offerings right now from a programs and a membership standpoint. So, for example, there's no group exercise right now in our phase 1. We do plan that in phase 2, and the next question is, okay, well, when's phase 2 going to start? We anticipate phase 2 possibly starting sometime in the next 3 to 4 weeks. We really want some time to get feedback again. Surveying the members both live and through other mechanisms has really been our compass for, honestly, what's a day-by-day plan. But group exercise, our kids zone, our babysitting service, that's also not being offered currently. That will be offered in phase 2. We have not made a decision on, traditional Y youth programming, things like swim lessons and youth sports, quite frankly, because we don't feel right now there's concrete recommendations out there, whether it's WEDC or CDC. Both of those agencies, again, we've been monitoring and really gearing our plans around their recommendations. So limited offerings right now, with more anticipated in phase 2, 3, and 4 as we move forward. So we didn't want to put a timetable like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, again, for 2 reasons. One, with the changing dynamic of, dare I say, moving the goalposts a little bit with some of these recommendations that come out almost daily. And 2, again, we want to make sure we're getting that feedback from our members, because we're going to customize the plan based on what their feedback and what their needs are, which means that we're going to customize the plan on what the community wants.
Yep, absolutely. So I know one thing that's on probably many parents' minds are summer camps, right? And we know that the Y provides some really great services in that department. I myself am a Camp U-Nah-Li-Ya kid, so as it is a big part of many kids and families' lives, what can people anticipate this year around camp?
Yeah, the camp piece was, and I'm sure like every other resident camp or day camp that's out there, the frustration of the day-by-day recommendations, and in some cases contradictions that were coming out. We are going to offer Camp Waubonsee like we have in the past from a day camp level. Again, there was a big transportation piece because, again, we transport kids from the branches up to Camp Waubonsee it looks like we're going to be able to continue doing that, which means we're going to be able to continue offering Camp Waubunsie. And quite frankly and transparently, the feedback I was getting from the parents was, even if you don't have buses and we don't have the recommendations, don't think I won't drive my kid a half hour away to put them in day camp, for 6 or 7 hours. But we're going to be able to offer Waubunsie. Camp Uni is a little different. We are going to offer kids and families an experience. The difference is it's going to have to be with your family. So what Max Clark and I, our executive director of camp, spent countless hours researching countless camps, and came to the conclusion that we just weren't going to be able to offer a resident camp and still ensure social distancing to our safety standards. And with that said, we were very deliberate, and we said, look, if there's a way to serve kids and there's a way to serve families, we're gonna find a way to do it. So we are offering family camp up there. So, for example, you can take your family up there for 2 days or 3 days at a very, very affordable price. I actually just took my 4 kids and my wife up there last weekend, and a lot of the offerings will be some of the things that your kids have come accustomed to doing up at Camp Uni. We're still going to have staff there. We're still going to be doing activities. It's just that you're going to be under the care of mom and dad, or mom or dad. And we just felt like this year, especially, we wanted to add that extra layer of safety. And again, not being able to at least feel like we could assure those social distancing parameters around sleepover camp.
Mm-hmm.
Tough to ensure social distancing in bunk beds, let alone dining halls and all the other fun stuff that kids do. But again, with that said, I think we're very proud that we're still able to offer services for kids and families this summer up at Camp Uni. And there's a lot of Y camps, actually the vast majority that aren't. And that's a little disappointing. But again, we are going to be offering some services, I think, that are still going to benefit kids and families of our area.
So if someone wanted to get connected and join with their family at Camp Uni, would they go to your website, Shawn, or how would they get in contact with you?
Yes, the website should have all that stuff on there. When in doubt, shoot me an email. I'll make sure it gets to the right place. But I know there's a lot of good stuff on our website. Again, there's a lot of virtual offerings. Our resident camp team really led, I'll just say, the charge when it came to virtual programming really early on. And Fox News did a nice piece. Jordan Baxter, our assistant camp director, does a phenomenal job for us up at camp. But if it's not on our website, if it's not on the Camp Uni page, and I'm pretty sure it is, just shoot me an email. I'll make sure it gets to the right place, and you'll probably see me and my family up there at least once or twice this summer too. And the way you can do it is it's by cabin. So I think there's 10 cabins up there. So 10 families could sign up, say, for a given week. And as far as the rate goes, they're a little different depending on the size of the cabin. So, for example, the Crest Lodge, which you can actually fit 40 people in, even 20 at 50% capacity, I want to say it's about $700 for 3 nights, which is very affordable. It's the same as a traditional week of camp. And then the smaller cabins are about half of that. So not a bad way to, spend 2 or 3 days with your kids. If you're a parent that still wants to be around your kids. I'm not
right. After, what are we entering, the 10th or 11th week?
Yeah.
We'll see.
I see Sherry just put on the chat box to the link, so thank you, Sherry.
Yes, thank you, Sherry. So you've mentioned a couple times now about how the community's feedback really is the DNA that builds kind of that next step for you all at the YMCA. And so as you continue to evolve and you're meeting the changing needs of the community, what is the question that you have for people on this call today? What types of feedback would you like to receive? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure, sure. Again, one of the things, and I'm sure with so many great not-for-profit organizations in Green Bay, we want to be part of the solution. At the end of the day, programming from a YMCA standpoint is supposed to, when it's being done right, reflect the needs of the community. And I think the needs of the community, if anything, I think we all would agree that they've at least shifted or changed a little bit. So from a YN, to answer your question, how can we be part of that solution? What would you like to see the Y doing more of or doing less of? Or again, being part of that community-based solution. And I think it just starts simply with asking that kind of a question. We just concluded a strategic plan process here, which was, again, exhausting and exciting at the same time. It was about a year-long process. And we dove back into our strategic plan recently to say, geez, is this still going to be valid? And, I'm happy to say that when we look at our buckets, and we had 4 of them, it's all very, very relevant stuff. So we haven't shifted our strategy. We haven't shifted our focus, but we are going to change the deliverables. We are going to change the metrics a little bit. And quite frankly, the community's feedback on some of those things I just mentioned, how can we be a part of the solution when it comes to serving the community better? At the end of the day, that's what the Y is supposed to be doing. So I think in some respects, this is, and I'm speaking globally now, not just in Green Bay, but from a YMCA standpoint, it's a good little back to the basics. I think Ys across the country are going to continue to ask that question more and more and develop their plans, just like we're developing a facility plan and a member plan around the needs of our members. We need to develop our programming and our future programming off the needs and the feedback of the community. So some things, I think, childcare, after school care, swim lessons, again, those things will always be in our DNA and part of our mission. But I think there's a lot of other areas, quite frankly, that we need to do a better job serving from a YMCA level. And we got to start with asking the right questions. And I think that question of what can we do better, more of, less of, and how can we be part of the solution with the folks on this call and just the community in general. That's what we're looking for right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And for those of you who are on the call right now, if you have any comments or things that you'd like to share to those questions, feel free to put those in the chat box. For those who may be watching the recording of this, Shawn, if they had some feedback to answer some of those questions, where would they send that?
Oh, right to me.
Right to you. Okay.
Yeah. Again, I think if folks don't have my email, it's Shawn.Elliott, SEAN.ELLIOTT @greenbayymca.org. But any feedback you have on any of those questions, again, like a lot of businesses, especially in the non-for-profit field, I don't want to say we're recreating our model, but we're certainly redefining it. And I think the secret sauce of doing it right is going to be the ability to pivot and be agile from our plan that we put in place, which, talent development, facilities development, program innovation, and our membership growth. I think those are still 4 pretty good buckets, but none of that happens without the first one, because people make it all happen. And, I think that we have a huge opportunity from an organizational standpoint to impact more lives, but it starts with asking the right questions before we start getting too far down the road.
Absolutely. So we will also share Shawn's email. I'll type it into the chat box here so people have that as well. So thank you for sharing that. So you talked a little bit about how things may look differently, and I think you're spot on. There's so many organizations that are really looking at how do we stay true to our mission while continuing to innovate and pivot and respond in a way that is necessary right now. In terms of of kind of virtual platforms. Did the Y do some like virtual classes? And if so, do you anticipate some of those offerings continuing? Do those go well?
Yeah, the answer is yes. And I think in every possible realm of what we do, again, I think we've done some decent preliminary work with youth programming, virtual group fitness, virtual fitness and wellness as a whole. I can see us investing a lot more time, energy, and people into that moving forward. Again, I think it's just going to be the world we're going to live in. At least for the short term, and probably for even the long term in some respects. So virtual programming across the board. I've been amazed on what you can learn on these kind of things. Even in some of the instructional stuff that we do with kids and youth. And whether it's that some kids are going to be more comfortable in that learning environment, whether it's going to be that folks want to take advantage of that kind of environment a little bit more. It's probably going to be a combination of everything, but what it's going to translate to at the end of the day is, yes, we're going to offer more virtual everything in everything that we do. We got to, I think, be on a little bit more of the cutting edge of that stuff, dare I say, as a YMCA. The joke in the YMCA is YMCA CEOs can't spell IT. But I think that's mostly true, but we need to do a better job, I think, in the technology side of our business, because quite frankly, some of the other folks out there, for-profit, non-for-profit, just in general, they're a little bit ahead of us there, and we got to catch up quick.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And especially depending on how long some of this process, how this process goes, how the phased-in process works. I mean, the more that we can continue to connect with one another virtually, which is, again, one of the reasons that we started the Connecting for Wellbeing series, right? Really trying to make sure that we're connecting, even though we may have some physical distancing protocols in place, that we continue to connect with one another. We're all still here. We're all still trying to do the good work. So it's important to find those avenues. And sometimes I think, wow, how grateful I am that this pandemic happened during a time when technology is as advanced as it is. It can be tiring at times, right?
Mm-hmm.
To constantly be in front of your screen, but it also is really a blessing to be able to connect with people in your community in this way too.
It's amazing. Can you think about, if this would have happened, say 20 years ago before they, I just can't imagine, some of the things that all the organizations have been able to perform and deliver. It's pretty amazing. So, again, I think from an organizational standpoint, we've got to grasp onto that stuff a little bit more, do a better job in those areas. And, to a lot of extent, having 4 kids, hey, that's pretty good advice when it comes to me with technology. But the thing that always amazes me is how simple they seem to keep it. And, that's the other joke in the Y. The C in YMCA stands for complicated. We like to complicate everything, and we need to do a better job in simplifying things in this new world. Because if it's not accessible, if it's not simple, and quite frankly, if it's not fun, it's probably not going to be sustainable in our new Y world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So as we close today here, Shawn, who or what is inspiring you today?
Oh, it's funny. I just got interviewed by my son for a school project, and unfortunately, he had to actually interview me, so he's probably going to get a really bad grade. But what inspires me is the same thing that inspires me to do this work. I always wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself, and again, at the end of the day, I think the why, being part of the community, and being in Green Bay for only the last 18 months, but in Philadelphia for 15 years, one of the things that really struck me about the YMCA in Green Bay is that it is an essential piece of this community. And that long predates me. I certainly had nothing to do with that. So I'm just fortunate enough to kind of come into that. This is a community that needs and quite frankly deserves the very best YMCA that we can offer it. And I think we can always do a better job. And I think this pandemic has definitely opened our eyes to some things that we could be doing a lot better. And we're really excited about where it's going to take us.
And we are too. We're excited to see how things unfold, and really appreciate you being with us here today, Shawn, and kind of sharing some of the inner workings of what's happening at the Y, how things are evolving. And again, we'll make sure to put all that information in, and I think Sherry has done a really nice job of putting some of those links in the chat box here, and really encourage you to really take Shawn and the YMCA up on their offer of, please, provide some of that feedback that they're looking for. They're really trying to tailor these next steps, and build that plan built upon what you, the members, and our community really wants to see. So thank you for being here with us today, Shawn.
Well, thank you, Natalie, and thank you so much for putting this on. I think this is a great thing. So it's just an honor to be with you guys today.
Absolutely, you're welcome. And I want to thank everyone for joining us here today. If you have suggestions on who you would like to hear from, please feel free to drop us a note at hello@wello.org, or you can always visit us on our website at www.wello.org for more well-being information. We also have all of our past webinars housed on our COVID-19 response page, so you can always look up in those archived videos as well. So remember, we're all in this together, and until next time, I hope you all remain safe, healthy, and well. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Shawn.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.